chapter.
Glory to you, O Lord.
Now Jesus was teaching in one of the synagogues on the Sabbath. And just then there appeared a woman with a spirit that had crippled her for 18 years. She was bent over and was quite unable to stand straight. When Jesus saw her, he called her over and said, "Woman, you are set free from your ailment." When he laid his hands on her, immediately she stood up straight and began praising God. But the leader of the synagogue, indignant because Jesus had cured on the Sabbath, kept saying to the crowd, "There are 6 days on which work ought to be done. Come on those days to be cured, but not on the Sabbath day." But the Lord answered him and said, "You hypocrites! Does not each of you on the Sabbath untie his ox or donkey from a manger and lead it away to give it water? And ought not this woman, a daughter of Abraham, who Satan bound for 18 long years, be set free from this bondage on the Sabbath day?" When he said this, all his opponents were put to shame, and the entire crowd was rejoicing at the wonderful things he was doing. The gospel of our Lord. Praise
to you, O Lord.
You may be seated. I'd like to invite all the children and the youth to come forward, as well as any students in primary school or students in college. Come on up front right here. Any teachers, support staff, lunch ladies, bus drivers, counselors, come on forward.
Even retired.
He's not, he's a teacher. We've been collecting these items so that we can send them out to the schools so that people have the supplies they need. In our gospel lesson today, Jesus healed a woman, and the synagogue leader was upset because he did it on the Sabbath, because in his mind that was against the rule. And Jesus reminded the synagogue leader and us today that nothing should ever get in the way of sharing God's love. Not our rules, not our thoughts, not our misconceptions. And we also believe nothing should get in the way of students being able to learn and get the most out of their educations, and teachers and staff to be able to do that. So this morning we're going to bless these supplies. We're going to bless the students all around the world, as well as all the teachers and staff and bus drivers. Let us pray. Lord, we ask that you bless these supplies and these backpacks, those who brought them in, and especially the children and youth who will use them as they begin yet another school year. Surround them with your love and safety. Give them peace when they feel nervous, focus when they feel distracted, energy when they are tired. Open their hearts and their minds to the lessons they will learn both in and outside the classroom. Help them to make friends that build up one another, and to be friends for those in need. Guide them in making good choices as they grow in wisdom and maturity. Be ever present with them in the classroom, the cafeteria, on the bus, the playground, at home. May they always be surrounded by your love and care. Lord, we also ask that you bless all teachers, counselors, coaches, staff, bus drivers, lunch ladies, support staff. As they embark on a new school year, grant them the energy, passion, discipline, patience, and endurance for the tasks that lay ahead. Infuse their classrooms, hallways, and buses with an atmosphere of care, respect, and love. That all interactions will be steeped in patience and understanding. Help their teachings and their examples to enable students to grow both in knowledge and in character. And Lord, help each of us Christ. There's a true story about an organist who was practicing one day in a church in Europe. As he was playing, a man came up to the organ and asked if he could play. The organist looked at this man and thought to himself, I shouldn't let this man play. Just look at him. He is unshaven. His clothes are soiled. He looks like a down and out. So he told the man no. But the unkempt stranger kept asking again and again. And finally, the organist let him play. Thinking he couldn't play very long, what would this down and out know about an organ? The man's fingers danced over those keyboards, and the organist was in awe of what had happened, hearing things he had never heard in his life. The stranger played on and on. The organist was spellbound. When the stranger got up to leave, the organist could not contain himself anymore. He said, "Who are you? What is your name?" As the down and out man walked away, he turned and said over his shoulder, "My name is Felix Mendelssohn." The organist gasped. He said to himself, "I almost did not let the master play." The organist had almost allowed his prejudice and his misconceptions to get in the way of a moment that he would never experience again in his life. The reality is, we all have misconceptions and prejudices that we need to work through. It's part of our brokenness. This morning's gospel lesson deals with misconceptions and prejudices. And in this case, the misconception that the Sabbath is so holy that you can't even love on the Sabbath. Jesus dealt with this misconception by healing one of two cripples who we met in our reading this morning. Now, I know you're thinking, but wait a minute, Pastor. We only heard about one woman who was crippled, right? And you're absolutely right. But I would suggest to you this morning there were actually two people in that lesson that were crippled. That was both of the people that came in contact with Jesus. The first crippled person was obviously the woman. She was the central part of our story. Crippled for 18 years. And then healed by Jesus in one split second. One Bible commentator said that her deformity was having the bones of her spine fused in one rigid mass. The scripture tells us that she was crippled for 18 years. And her disability was very obvious to all those around her. It was a true miracle what Jesus did for her that day. We could spend the next week or maybe even the next month thinking and praying about what Jesus did, that act of loving kindness for that woman. And we indeed spend our entire lives meditating on and thinking about those acts of loving kindness that Jesus does in our lives. But this morning we need to look at the bigger picture as well. As I suggested a minute ago, there were two crippled people in our story. The second crippled person was the ruler of the synagogue. He too was crippled by a spirit. I would suggest the spirit of legalism. Now think about this for a minute. Instead of rejoicing that God had worked a wonderful miracle on this woman, a woman that everybody would have known, in those small villages everybody knew everyone, and they knew their stories. So they would have known and witnessed her 18 years of agony. But instead of rejoicing on this amazing blessing, the synagogue leader set about to disparage it. The question that comes to mind is why? Why? The synagogue was the church in Jesus' day. It was a place where God's people came to worship God. And that synagogue ruler was the man who ran the services and that people would look up to for spiritual guidance, for spiritual support. Why did he decide to take issue with Jesus? I'm fairly certain, at least on some level, it would have been because of his own pride. After all, who was this Jesus to come into his synagogue to heal one of his flock? That was his job, right? How many of us have ever been there? Distraught because we were able to witness a great blessing or to witness an amazing miracle. But instead to say that most of us have been there at one time or another. The other reason that he was so offended was because Jesus went against his understanding of the law. The issue wasn't that Jesus healed a woman. No one claimed that Jesus' healing was other than from God. No one disputed that it was a good deed. But it was the day that Jesus chose to perform the healing that appeared to be the major issue. It was on the Sabbath day. And the Pharisees had already defined that as a work. It's kind of ridiculous in our society today to be offended when someone does healing on a Sunday. But in Jesus' day, it was very much a major issue. Keep in mind, in Israel at that time and place, they were overrun by the Romans. The Jews were struggling to keep some kind of identity. And their identity was bound up in the covenant that they had with God. They believed that it was only by strictly, or one commentator says, by slavishly obeying the rules of the covenant that they could satisfy God and be in a relationship with God. The issue the ruler of the synagogue was that by healing on the Sabbath, Jesus was breaking the fourth commandment. As Exodus 20:8-11 says to us, 6 days you shall labor and do all your work. But on the seventh day is the Sabbath to the Lord your God. On it you shall not do any work. Neither you, nor your son, nor your daughter, nor your manservant or maidservant, nor your animals, nor aliens within your gates. On 6 days the Lord made the heavens and the earth, the sea and all that is in them. But God rested on the seventh day. Therefore the Lord blessed the Sabbath and made it holy. But if you think about it, what is the issue here? Was Jesus really doing work on the Sabbath? Maybe we need to decide and define what work was. He wasn't doing anything to make a profit or anything for his own personal gain. He was helping a fellow human being. He was sharing God's love with a sister. In order to avoid breaking the commandments, the Pharisees had fenced these commandments with some very rigid rules. For example, one Pharisaic rule regarding the Sabbath held that an animal could be led to water providing it wasn't carrying anything. A man could draw water for the animal and pour it into the trough for the animal to drink, but if the man were to hold that bucket for the animal to drink out of, he was breaking the Sabbath. Another such rule was that you were only allowed to medically treat someone of an illness on the Sabbath if their life was in danger. It didn't matter if they were suffering profusely. If their life was in danger, you weren't allowed to treat them. Jesus responded a lot like we probably would, you hypocrite. You hypocrite. He responded in this way because the man was implicitly claiming to act on God's behalf, yet contradicting the spirit of God's love, the spirit of God's law. The spirit of God's law always comes above the letter of the law. Then Jesus shares his reasoning. If on the Sabbath you untie your animal and give it water, why should this woman who's been bound for 18 years not be set free? Isn't she more important than an animal? Legalism had crippled this ruler's mind. And he could not see his inconsistency in his thoughts and his words. He was abiding to the spirit of the law for animals, but the letter of the law for people. We know that the spirit of the law is always grace, mercy, and love. Christ went to the cross and the empty grave to make sure of that. Now, we all have misconceptions at times. We sometimes have our prejudices, even about the Sabbath, and how it should be held and what we should do or not do. But sometimes those hinder us seeing Jesus at work in other people. I remember reading about a small town in the U.S., a small church, and they had invited a very good preacher to come and preach one Sunday. And they had to wait for months until he was able to come. But they withdrew the invitation the morning he came because he was not wearing a belt. The reason was that without a belt, the preacher's pants could fall down while he was preaching, and that would be a scandal. Now, I can promise you, I always wear a belt. So he instituted a rule that all preachers would have to wear a belt if they preached. As silly as that rule sounds, and this is a very true story, as silly as that was, I have to wonder, how many times do our interpretations of rules and laws, our need to be legalistic, cause us to miss out on what God has to say? That morning, they were not able to hear what God had to say to them through that preacher because he wasn't wearing a belt. How many times do our rules and our laws and our legalistic nature get in the way of us learning a new way that God wants to love us or wants us to share that love? Paul reminds us in Galatians 5:22 that the fruits of the Spirit are love, joy, peace, patience, kindness, goodness, faithfulness, gentleness, and self-control. And listen very closely. Against such things there is no law. I invite you to think about that and pray about that this week. May God's grace, mercy, and love